All right, if you have good housing policies in a country, then you can be rest assured that that will translate to proper forms of mortgage acquisition. And so this morning we have that very important conversation that sits well, of course, with the current government and the previous ones, just that we have not been able to achieve what they envision. And we ask ourselves what needs to be done to make sure that we get the right policies in the aspect of housing, especially in the country, perhaps in relation to what is happening at the level of the global fraternity, and making sure that even for those ones that are willing to go the mortgage way, then they can acquire this in the best way possible. Having this conversation with George, and of course George Boro is the CEO of Mitizi Africa Homes. We've been talking houses, we've been talking housing for the longest time. I know today the president visits that side of Ukambani region, Machakos County, and the conversation that is key at this very visit is on the aspect of housing. Sure. But then again, we just want to understand as a country, have we gotten the policies right so that the effects on acquiring of mortgages then is fair enough? I am told that most of the people are now shying away from the aspect of mortgage because then it's extremely expensive. Sure. Is it because of the policies, or perhaps it's just something that we're not getting right?
Sure. Yeah, thank you very much. And for sure, as a country, we're in a very good time, and we should appreciate that. And this is because we have brought the issue of housing and affordable housing to the forefront. And the president, we are very happy he's talking about it oftenly, and launching projects like the one that you have just mentioned. And for sure, this is a good thing, and this is the right way to go as a country. You find that some statistics were done when the Jubilee administration was coming to be, and that is why they came also with the affordable housing as an agenda. Yeah. And basically there was a deficit of 2 million houses by that time in 2017, and each and every year 200,000 units are needed. And these are homes that need to house families, decent living, just a basic standard house. And you can imagine a country whereby people do not have that. It is something, it's a problem, and now this problem we are addressing it. And also you find that there is nobody who has all that amount of money stashed somewhere. They are just waiting to get that house and acquire it. So now the aspect of mortgages comes to play. And you find that previously it was very difficult, and even at the moment it is not that easy to acquire a mortgage. And then you find that mortgage interests are very high, so that by the time you are done paying that mortgage, assuming even you are given 20 years or even 25 years, the amount of money you have paid is 3 times the worth of the property, or the house, which you find is a problem. So when you are talking of affordable housing, you also have to talk about mortgage, and these are loans that are going into purchasing of these houses, and also the issue of interest, because we can't be giving people a solution, and again we are giving them a burden. You give them a solution, they need these homes, and the demand is there, and people need homes, and they need to be given facilitation to own homes. Then again, you give them at a very high interest rate, such that by the time they are clearing paying, they have paid so much. And by the time they are done, you find that that house also may have depreciated. Because you find that there is also wear and tear when it comes to houses, and also you find that an area that was very attractive, maybe with the time so many developments have come up, high-rise buildings have come up, you find that the place is not as serene as when you are getting the mortgage. Yeah, so these are conversations that are there, and I'm happy now that you are talking, and talking very clearly. Now what we need to do is now the policies. Because you find that if there are no policies, for sure there will still be the confusion that we have been in. Because we know that there is that need. We know the need can be met by giving people affordable mortgages. But now there are no clear structures or policies now to see to that. That is now what we need to address. And we also need to address the step by step. We have identified this is a problem. This is a solution. Now, how? Now, the how now is what we need to address.
And the how, just how much efforts being put towards, addressing this matter of the how. And when we're talking about the fact that this is extremely expensive for those ones that would wish to be homeowners, how much more expensive, how much of a burden, how much does it weigh down for those of you who are in the, housing business, for those of you who are in the real estate businesses? I mean, because at the end of the day, if really the consumer is not willing to come and, buy your product and get your product because they feel like in the long run, it's quite an expensive affair for them. What does it mean for you who are in this space?
Sure. Yeah, thank you very much. To address the how, that is where now the developer, like us, Mizizi Africa Homes Limited, or the contractors now come to play. Because you find there is a need, the end consumer needs a home and a house, and a basic house and a good house. Then there is a solution provider. These are the people who are giving now the financing. And you'll find that not only banks, but even international, our financial international partners, including the World Bank, including the Africa Development Banks, including international, the partners we normally engage, friendly international countries. They are ready and willing to support the government and the country in this agenda of affordable housing. But now the questions comes into how. This money, where is it going? There is the money is there in plenty. The need is there and we have identified it and it's big. Now the how is where now the developer needs to be locked in, or the constructor, because that is the stage at which we have not yet reached. And I would like to encourage the government. Yes, we have heard, they have said there is going to be private-public partnership. We need it to be very clear. And that's why we are saying we need to develop policies and now lock in the developers. Like Mizizi Africa Homes Limited, they come into play and we are told this is the money. This money utilized to come up with these houses. The houses should be this and this, A, B, C, D. Then once the houses are done, are complete, they will be given to these people who have the need. And now they will start paying. Just the same way they have been paying rent. They will now start paying, but the end goal is that by the time they are done, the houses will be theirs. They will have owned the house. So the how is what we need to address, and we can't address the how without involving the developers or the contractors. And when you are talking of developers, it involves so many professionals. It's not only the developer himself, because a development has to involve the surveyor. It has to involve architects. It has to involve lawyers, because there have to be legal agreements and consequences in case of default. We need to involve engineers in terms of structural works. We need to involve the counties in case of for approvals. We need to involve the NCA to ensure that the work are being done as approved. We need to, it involves so many players, and that is where there is now the key. These others is now just making sure that now this is something you are talking. Now where the rubber meets the road is now the how.
But you see, the irony is that this is not a new conversation. We've had these conversations. We have seen leaders going out there to benchmark. We have seen leaders, as well, pinpointing at some of the successful stories of other, states in the global fraternity as to the question of housing and affordable housing, for that very matter. You want to tell me that there have not been, conversations that have involved all these stakeholders? Because even when you look at structures going down, and I know as a developer, you can relate. You can understand the loss, the pain that comes with that. Why is it that we can still say up until this very point we've not had these conversations, and if at all we've had, why is it that they're not being put to use? Is there so much of compromise?
Thank you very much. There's something called political goodwill. And political goodwill is what has been missing. And now this political goodwill, we can see it with our president, because our president is talking constantly about affordable housing. You'll find that in the Jubilee administration, affordable housing was an agenda. It was one of the big four agendas. But you did not hear any CS or even the president talking so much about it and even pushing it as an agenda.
Yeah.
Yes, it was there, but somehow it was just it was not being pushed so much. So you find that the political goodwill somehow was not really there. So what we can encourage now is even now the other players in the political arena, including the opposition. Let us support the government, because what the government is saying, and you'll find that affordable housing comes with, it has such a big ripple effect on the whole economy. There is no way we can divert from affordable housing and we are talking about growing our economy. Because you'll find that affordable housing comes with the jobs creations, because these houses, it is people who are working to construct them, and we'll find that so many people will be employed, young people will be employed in the construction. It involves the manufacturing sector, and this is because in terms of cement, in terms of steel, in terms of all these materials, they are being manufactured in the manufacturing sector. You'll find that by extension it includes now security, because when people are actively engaged, they have something, they have an income. You'll find that also cases of insecurity will reduce. It also involves having stabilization of families, because when a family is able to cater for their needs, to cater for their food, because everybody is working or contributing something to the table, it brings stability in the country. And we are saying that we want to grow as a country. We are saying that we want to be a stable country that is self-sufficient. We want to have peace. We want to attract foreign investors, and by so doing, it can only happen when we have peace, and we'll only have peace when people at least are stable, they're able to cater for their day-to-day activities. So this is a big agenda, and we are calling upon even the opposition. If you care about our country, if you care about the people who vote for you, it is high time we support the government. Yes, it's good to criticize, but criticize positively. Criticize positively, where we are saying we need everybody to be involved on the how, because we are talking on how do we implement this, and it is something that is touching on all of us. How do we implement it? So as opposed to fighting the idea itself, let's criticize each other on how should we go about it. And everybody, I can assure you, this is a very big cake which everybody can have a stake, because this is a very big need that we need. And we'll find that once we do that, we'll be able to attract even foreign investors in our country. We'll be able to attract foreign remittances in our country, because we'll find that there are so many people who are in the diaspora, and they need to remit their remittances back at home by owning something, a property. And how can that happen? When there is something that is happening and it's everybody who is being involved. You'll find that our country, in the shortest time possible, if we address this issue of how to go about the affordable housing, will be something that all of us will be happy in the near future. In
the long run. So just what is affordable? If you come to think of it, like you say, you find that at the end of the day, you pay triple the amount, for a mortgage. And Kenyans ask themselves, do they go back to that space where they can build for themselves, which in most cases is even more dangerous, because then there's not that touch of professionalism. Or do they go to spaces where they engage professionals like you, or do they go to spaces where they're going to take the mortgage and say over and done, this has been fixed? And in most cases, again, there are a lot of complaints as to the quality of these structures that have been set up. Just where are we headed in all this? And especially when we think about financing the projects and engaging the financial entities that again would come in handy. Say a bank comes with an arrangement with a developer, so that a certain person is able to get a structure at the end of the day. Just where do we, or where do you deem fit, and that would be the best direction for Kenyans to take today? Go back to where we were.
Thank you very much. Your question, as I've gotten it, is how affordable is affordable. Affordability basically is tagged on value. If you are getting something and that something is valuable, and you feel that it is surely value for money, that is affordable. And I'll give an example of like a car. You can buy a small car A small car, you buy it at, let's say, 700,000, and it's able to take you from point A to point B. You are comfortable with that car. Again, you can buy a bigger car, a machine, let's say a big car, and you buy it at even 3.5 million, 4 million. That car is able to give you that luxury. It's able to even move faster. You can able to move in rough terrains. You're able to, as much as it is consuming, you have bought it at a higher price, but still it is giving you what you are looking for. It's giving you that ambience. It's giving you that sense of class. It's moving you even faster. Yeah, both of them, depending on whether they have given you value for your money, that is affordable. So affordability comes with what you are getting, value for money. Have you gotten value for money? And at the end of the day, whatever you have paid, is it not so much? And another good example when you are looking at how affordable is how affordable is a mortgage. For example, you have paid a mortgage for 25 years. If you accumulate the amount of principal, the principal amount you have paid, plus the interest, plus any other monies that were there, other charges, at the end of the day, vis-a-vis the value of that house, how is it? You'll find that, for example, assuming you buy a house, let's say with us, Mrs. Africa Homes Limited, you buy that house at, let's say, 5 million, and you are given a mortgage. That mortgage you are given, you pay for 20 years. If you do your calculation and you find that by the time you are paying this loan, maybe you will have paid, let's say, 7 million. So the interest and everything else comes to 7 million. So you have paid an extra 2 million, the value of the house. You will find that for sure you can say is value for money. But what is happening currently, you will find that if you are given a mortgage for 25 years, if you accumulate the principal and the interest, and any penalties or any interest that come with that house, you find that most people have paid 15 million to 20 million. So you find that this mortgage, yes, it is good and you may have paid small amounts, but in the long run, or by the time you are done with the payment, you have paid so much more. So the question is, was it worth, was it value for money? So that is where now, when you are talking of affordability comes into place. How affordable are the mortgages? And again, I can give you an example of like the Hustler Fund that we recently, the president launched, vis-a-vis, let's say something like Fuliza. You find that Fuliza, you're given a Fuliza, per day, you pay a very high interest. I think per day, in even 7%, or it's very high, quite high. But you hear this one, 8%, per annum, which means per day it is 0.00, something that is very negligible. So you will see that for sure this one is, if you do the calculation in the long run, you'll see this Hustler Fund is quite affordable, as opposed to this Fuliza, which I'm happy even the Safaricom is starting to reduce the interest rate, because if you look at that over time, so I think what we can say, interest or value for money or affordability is what you have gotten vis-a-vis how much you pay in the long run.
Okay. Demand and supply, one of the key things that you know, people have to speak of. And you look at it globally, realize that there's that demand, but then again the supply is low. What would you say, you know, is the actual relationship between these two in the country today, in terms of just how many Kenyans would really demand for affordable housing and the supply? And in your own space as Mizizi Africa, are you at a point where there's plenty of houses to give, but there are no customers, or it's the other way around?
Yeah, thank you very much. You'll find that demand and supply go hand in hand. And when there is demand, and supply also tends to come in place. And you'll find that the demand for houses, because of the deficit, as I had mentioned earlier, which is 2 million, and each and every year 2 million houses are needed, is very high. The demand is very high. But now you find that the supply is not that much. And also you find that financiers or people who are ready and willing to give people financing, also the supply is limited. And that is why you find that houses, especially ready houses, they are quite expensive. And you will be surprised, like for us, Mrs. Africa Homes Limited, because for us, we walk the journey with the client. By the time we are done constructing that house, the value that house attracts vis-a-vis the cost at which we sold the customer, the price at which we sold the customer, the difference is so big because ready houses are so expensive. And now the challenge here is now a ready house is so expensive, which means when you're being given a mortgage, you also have to pay more because the mortgage has to go with the value of the house now plus interests. Now that is where there is the disconnect. But if people can be given these ready houses but at an affordable price,
fair enough,
you'll be surprised that there will be so many uptick. Now people are not taking because there is no that the houses that are ready, they are so exorbitant. Yeah?
And so when you say as Mizizi, then you walk the journey, just what journey are we talking about? That I will not come to Mizizi and already there's a mortgage for me to buy, that I will perhaps come to Mizizi and I'm told now we have to start the process of construction at this very area. And so with you come and tell us, change this, do this and everything. And there's a whole difference between that and finding ready mortgages.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, for us, Mrs. Africa Homes Limited, what we do is we identify a parcel of land. That parcel of land, we come up, we subdivide it, and we come up with the designs and the plans that we want to have in that parcel of land. Then we invite customers to come and buy. And it's not you buy the full amount. You pay an initial deposit. Then from there, as we do the construction, you come and pay the monthly installments. When you do that, you find that you get that house almost below the cost price. And this is because we as a company, we also utilize the economies of scale because we are doing for many people. So you find that you're able to source the materials direct from the quarries, cement direct from the factories, iron from everything from the source without the middlemen. So you find that you're able to give these houses at a very affordable of prices. And now we walk the journey together. So it's something that we have held hands and we are working together. So you'll find that for financial institutions, most of the time, they are not ready and willing to finance such a good partnership, which is the problem. But you find that once the house is complete, people who need mortgages and financing, now for these ready houses, the bank is ready and willing. So you find that when we partner with the customers, they are more or less of investors because they get that house at an affordable price. They cap it, they cap a small margin, they get something also out of it. They get that as a gain. That is what we call the capital gain. Yeah, once now you have gotten at this one, then you have sold, you get. That is what we call capital gain. It's only that it has not been embraced so much because again people in our country we have that strain of the cash flow. So we find it's not so many people who are doing that. But if we can have so many people embracing this idea so that we have so many investors, you may not be buying the house for you to occupy, but you are having that house with the plan or with that vision of reselling it and getting money out of it. If so many people do that, you'll find even by extension, even without the government's money, we'll be able to, or even without the government involvement, we'll be able to house so many people. But now since people do not have all that money, the banks giving loans is not that easy. You have to have a collateral. You must have also a good cash inflow so that you can show you are capable of repaying the loan. Yeah, if all those conditions somehow are reduced, or that money goes direct to investors or to developers, and so many people are able to get these ready houses, again they are given a very good interest rates, for sure this problem will be able to deal with it. You find that the issue of trust, bank and their clients, the issue of trust is a problem. You find that the issue of trust with the clients and developers is a problem. There has been that trust disconnect. That is what is causing all these problems. Because if everybody is accountable And that's why we are saying if you can have very clear policies, ways, for sure, if you have not met your part of the bargain, these are the consequences. For sure, if there is a very clear understanding, for sure we can be able to remove this elephant out of the room. Yeah.
And of course, an evident slow uptake of this, and you ask yourselves, why is there that demand yet the uptake is extremely slow? So what are some of the products that you have latest as Mizizi Africa?
Sure. Yeah, thank you very much. And we as Mizizi Africa Homes Limited, we have been looking at the market and trying to address the problem. And we have identified the biggest challenge is for our customers to be financed, because they have the need, but they are not being financed because they do not have the collateral. So moving forward as Mizizi Africa Homes Limited, what we are doing, we are coming up with the normal we normally do it, but now as opposed to even starting the construction immediately, we are going first of all by doing the subdivision. We have the titles ready for hand. Previously we used to invite customers. By the time we are handing over, we have already done the subdivision. But now, since we have seen where the challenge is, we are coming up, we identify the land, we do the subdivision. So the first thing that we'll be doing is to sell to the customer the plot itself. We sell to the customer the plot, they get that title. And once they get that title, they can use that title which they have just bought the piece of land. So we are splitting and having it twice. First of all, we deal with the issue of land. You have the title. You can utilize that title to be given a financing. And you'll find that if it's a project, it's an estate which is coming up, you'll find you may not have the money, but your neighbor has money. And the good thing is, when the valuation is being done, if there are a number of people who have done development, you will find it adds value. So you may have a title here, then in a year's time, you are planning yourself, maybe you are doing small savings. Eventually in a year's time, a good number of your neighbors have come up with their houses, and you have now your title, and it's a gated estate, it's a gated community, you have a gated community, and you have your parcel of land there. It is very easy for you even to look for a few coins, you put and you start the structure, then you can invite a bank, this is my title, I'm doing my house here. When you do that, I believe we are going to help so many more people, yeah, so that they can be given those financing. And again, the way the government is continuing to encourage the banks to give people loans, we believe the banks are going to reduce the conditions when it comes to borrowers getting loans. And also again, there has been that issue of CRB, which has really disadvantaged so many people. You find that a person who, when they were young, they somehow, without knowledge, they borrowed, let's say, a loan, which, because at that time they did not have money, they defaulted. And you find these people have already been listed in the CRB. And that person now, they have become of age. They are people who can get a loan, they have their own income, but because of their history and that credit history, you find that they are disadvantaged. They are told, you are not a worthy client because you have a bad history, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because you are not doing it because you wanted to default. Maybe at that particular time you had borrowed maybe 20,000, but you are not in a position to pay because you didn't have a job. So we are now moving from that issue of CRB to credit rating, whereby now we judge not based on your history, but based on your current. How are you now currently moving on? Have you improved? Because you find that most Kenyans are honest, but because of that now a way of rating the credit score, it has been a problem. Yeah, so we believe if the government continues that one, and we as Mizizi, we also come up with also ways of helping so many people, and other developers also do same case, because for us, Mizizi Africa Homes Limited, at the moment we are only in Kenyatta Road, Kangundo Road, now we have gone to Diani in Kwale County, but the country is big. We have Nakuru, we have Kisumu, we have other cities, we have other towns, we have so many places where people need these things. So for us, Mizizi Africa Homes Limited, we are happy that we have been doing it, and now the government is also talking about it. So for us, we are very encouraged, and we can only improve on what we have started, so that at the end of the day, in the next few years, 5 years, 10 years, the issue of affordable housing will be no longer be a problem. We'll be now offering solution not only here in Kenya, but even outside Africa, because you find that Kenya is now being looked at as an example.
Yeah.
And if we do it very well, we are going to be the leader in Africa.
That's true.
And Africa, you know, is a very big continent with so much potential. If you're able to do it as a country, which we can be looked as an example, for sure, the sky is the limit.
You know, as they would say, even in the challenges we soldier on, how do they get a hold of you before we close?
Thank you very much. To reach to us, Mizizi Africa Homes Limited, you can give us a call. Our phone number is 020-790-2215. I say that again, 020-790-2215. Or you can WhatsApp us on 0742-112215. Again, we are in all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Mizizi Africa Homes Limited. And again, you can give us an email on info@miziziafricahomes.com, or visit us in our offices located in Westlands, opposite Sarit Center. Much welcome. We continue this conversation, and for sure we are living in the best of times.
And indeed, all the best in your journey of trying to own a home. It is possible. It is happening. Mizizi has been here from the very longest time, I know. And it is only good to work with an entity that is formidable, that you can trust, because this is your money that you're putting, and your life as well. And it is important that you get value for money. And as you set up a home, it's important also that you consider the furniture. And so as we talk business today, we shift gears to Sofa Zetu, and we get to understand just how best you can get yourself the best of furniture for that beautiful home that you get from Mizizi Africa Homes after this.
Thank you.